It's time for the Splash Live from Civic Center TV, featuring stories from and about people like you in the greater West Bloomfield area. Simulcast on cable, 89.3 Lakes FM, social media, and the web. Now live from Green Media Center on Walnut Lake Road, it's the Splash Live.
Live, local, social, it's the Splash Live on Civic Center TV and 89.3 Lakes FM. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm your host for today, Kevin McIntosh. Getting straight into things. 24 hours from right now, Election Day will finally be here. But all eyes were right here in our local area over the weekend as Greater West Bloomfield's Franklin Cider Mill took the national spotlight on Fox News, or as Fox News anchor Brett Baer broadcasts his entire special report segment live from this beloved local spot. Capturing the essence of Michigan in the fall, Baer's broadcast highlighted our state's pivotal role in this upcoming election. Photos of this special event, if you're watching on CivicCenterTV.com, were taken by our very own Dave Scott, and they show the lively scene as Baer and his team engage with locals at the heart of Oakland County. A familiar fall favorite, the Franklin Cider Mill was transformed into this national news set, underscoring Michigan's impact in this year's election. Very, very important and very good to see that we get a little bit of shine on national TV. OCC hosted a 5K run and walk event for charity over the weekend, and some local OCC residents and students actually laced up their shoes and gave back. I should say Oakland County residents. Oakland Community College hosted its 9th annual 5K run walk for charity. This was Friday, November 1st at the Orchard Ridge campus. This event supported 3 amazing local organizations, by the way. One, Humble Design, which helps families transition out of homelessness. There was CARES of Farmington Hills, providing essential resources to those in need, and the OCC Give and Take Pantry, offering food assistance to students in need on campus. Participants brought in donations of all kinds: non-perishable foods, gently used household items, and cleaning supplies. Very useful cleaning supplies. Every contribution made a difference, by the way. And you can visit the Facebook page of the Oakland Early College, see those photos, and engage with them. They're on Facebook, facebook.com/OE College for photos and to engage with more. There's a big congratulations due, by the way, in order for the WB or West Bloomfield Middle School robotics team as they brought home the Motivate Award, bringing home some nice hardware for the West Bloomfield community. It's a testament to the team's goal to practice gracious professionalism and to work hard after school to build, code, and develop a strong team. Now, well done, by the way. If you're watching on CivicCenterTV.com, you can see the photos of the lovely students right here of that robotics team representing for West Bloomfield Middle School. A heartfelt thank you to all of the coaches, parents, and behind-the-scenes snack providers, by the way, and everybody else who helped to make this team as amazing as they are. You can see the photos yourself up close and personal. Head to Facebook, West Bloomfield Schools on Facebook, to congratulate them yourself. Other local resources that are making things easier for residents: West Bloomfield Library meets the community at Connect. The West Bloomfield Township Public Library is reaching out with an innovative community engagement event at Connect Senior Center. This will be November 11th, 1 to 2 p.m., by the way. This special outreach brings library services directly to the residents, making it easier for everyone to access a range of resources that the library provides without an actual trip to the library. This free event will feature opportunities to explore new books and media. You can sign up for library cards, you can renew your membership, and even place holds on your favorite titles. Attendees can check out books and other materials right there on site. The library staff will also be available to answer any questions and guide you through any of the digital services if you do need help. Join in and connect with your favorite library in a whole new way right in your neighborhood. You can learn more on the Facebook page of the library, facebook.com/WestBloomLib. That's on Facebook. Keeping things local, over the weekend, a mashup of Shop Sylvan and what would have been the 5th annual Lakeview Holiday Shops pop-up came together and made the first ever Sylvan Shop event. We sent our very own Jake Schaff out to check out the scene.
Halloween may have come and gone, but the season of giving is very quickly approaching. But just recently, a lot of local residents had a great opportunity to get a head start on some of their shopping, as the Sylvan Lake Community Center was nearly bursting at the seams for their annual Shop Sylvan event. An incredible showcase of local vendors and entrepreneurs looking to show off their products and to make some new connections along the way.
It's great. I mean, we've come now, this is our 3rd year. And for us being a restaurant 7 days a week, we don't really get to stop and talk to everyone because we're in the middle of a rush. So being able to stop and connect with everyone and get to talk about our products and why we make them has been great.
What's it been like to see the growth for an event like this over the years?
I'm proud of it. I mean, I know how hard Allison and her team and Kelly work on getting everyone here and involved. So being able to come and see how many more people come each year has been great.
I like the people. They're great. The organizers are terrific. They are so organized and have everything. And there's so many details that go into putting on a show like this. It's always really good to be with an audience of people who are receptive to what you're creating. And if people come by and they understand and appreciate the work that goes into it. And I appreciate their admiration.
What did you think of the event today?
I really liked it. I've been to the one before where it was at the one woman's house, and there were a lot of people crowded in, and now being here, a little bit more space, a lot of really cool vendors and people, local restaurants and businesses that were really cool to see because I don't always get to go out and explore. So getting to see how many people are in the greater Sylvan community, Kego, West Bloomfield area, coming to see all of these small businesses and just having a good day together is really nice.
Oh, it was fabulous. I really enjoyed going out, and it's a beautiful day to begin with, and then going out and seeing and supporting some of the local merchants that are here today. So it was fabulous.
I'd love for it to get bigger. But I think it's going to be a lot more traction. I know there are people that aren't just from Sylvan Lake, but come from different areas and different towns around here. But to be able to see it get larger and maybe a larger venue and multiple times a year would be very fun.
This event keeps getting bigger and better every single year, and it'll be exciting to see just where things go in the years to come, as Shop Sylvan not only provides a wide variety of local products, but the chance to make those close to us incredibly happy with some very thoughtful gifts. For Civic Center TV, I'm Jake Schaff.
Great story again, Jake. We love to highlight local things happening in the community that's bringing local small business owners and entrepreneurs together and the community to go check that out. You can watch that entire segment again on our website, civiccentertv.com. Click on the On Demand tab for more information. Now, over the weekend, we also did get the West Bloomfield Lakers football to hit the road for their first ever playoff game, playing the district semifinal at Novi High School against the 5-4 Wildcats. Defensive physicality was an early highlight as they made multiple offensive drives stop and held Novi scoreless in the first 17 minutes of the game. We're going to break that game down in its entirety, as right now I am joined by West Bloomfield football color commentator for Civic Center TV and 89.3 Lakes FM, Matt Catoni. What's going on, Matthew?
Thank you for having me, Kevin.
Hey, thanks for being here, man. First and foremost, we walked away with another victory. Happy to see that, especially in the playoffs. What stood out to you about the Lakers' defensive approach going up against a Novi team that had a lot of success moving the football this season?
Yeah, they were really just dominant up front, and you just heard that from the announcers the entire game. Jeremiah Benson, Chops Pittman really had an impact this game. Chops Pittman coming away with another pick six, and just that front seven has really just been dominant in these wins that we've seen them rack up this season in these blowouts. And coming into a game next week, playing one of the best teams in the entire state, we're going to need to see a repeat of that performance.
Man, talk about it. Josh Tate, 12 carries, 86 yards. He walked away with a touchdown. Elijah Durham, 3 catches, 97 yards, a touchdown. Like you said, Lakers just dominating on both sides. But how much of a factor do you think the Lakers' physicality came into play, making an early game push against the Wildcats?
Yeah, I really think that physicality was the main thing for the offense, especially. It opened up both the run game and pass game. And when that offensive line is playing and moving people like it was on Friday, it's going to be hard to beat this Lakers team. And especially when both quarterbacks are playing as well as they have been in recent weeks. Shakespeare having 3 touchdowns, Bo Jackson playing tremendous over the last several weeks.
Yes.
And it's just going to be interesting to see how this game against Catholic Central goes, just basing it off of this last performance against Novi.
Good point. Good point. Bo Jackson, by the way, 6 for 9 passing, 126 yards with a TD. That sounds very efficient to me right there. Joining us right here live on The Splash, West Bloomfield football color commentator for Civic Center TV and 89.3 Lakes FM, Matt Catoni, talking about the West Bloomfield Lakers football team walking away with a victory in their first road game playoff performance against the Novi Wildcats. Now, we need this to continue on. Like, how do you feel like their physicality should continue as we continue for our next game? Looking forward to Catholic Central this week and either Belleville or Saline if they win on Friday.
Well, going up against Belleville will be another animal in itself, playing one of the best quarterback prospects in recent years. But this week, playing Catholic Central, got to just keep that 1 week at a time mindset. And it kind of seems like this team last week was playing with a chip on its shoulder, knowing that, people aren't necessarily expecting them to go on a run just based on their record.
Right.
But going back to what Coach Hilbers has said throughout the season, sometimes necessarily your record doesn't show what you are in the OAA Red because, you're just kind of beating each other up and you lose some close games sometimes and it affects your record. Now, going into this week, it's going to be kind of a similar thing. You're going to want to see that physicality, which is more of a mindset from the front seven and the offensive line. And if that offensive line is able to move people again and get that run game going, I don't see them losing the game behind Josh Tate.
Yeah, 100%. Even continuing on, we got Coach Hilbert saying that the team played well by putting together all of the good from throughout the season without much of the bad showing up. And obviously, it showed up in a big way on the scoreboard and in a time where we needed during the playoffs. Now, kind of looking at things offensively, we said a lot of people got a chance to touch the ball, taking it to the end zone. But offensively, what stood out to you as the most important factor in West Bloomfield winning in this blowout win?
Yeah, again, it's just that offensive line and how they were moving people and opening up lanes in the run game, not just for Tate.
Right.
Shakespeare was able to run the ball exceptionally as well, and just how that opens up things for the pass game is just incredible. And now that Bo Jackson has been in rhythm these past few weeks, and as you mentioned, his efficiency in recent weeks is even better. Just the connection that him and Durham have been able to form on the deep ball is just really gives them the potential to score at any moment.
That's a good point. Yeah, the offensive line, very, very important. I don't think too many people think about the factor that they are in the game and protecting the quarterback, giving him enough time to scramble, look through the field, make the decisions, and also open up that hole for the running backs, for the runners to go through. Josh Tate to do exactly what he does also. What do you think makes West Bloomfield, or what do you think they need to do to go on to Catholic Central Stadium and pull off a huge upset against a top 5 team?
Well, I really think they got to, stay within themselves, stay composed. Don't try and really force the issue and try and just, make shock plays, try and go for the big plays just to go for the upset. Just, play within yourselves, try and get the run game going, try and have an efficient drive to start off the game, eat up some clock, and just try and assess the game from there and see how Catholic Central is going to play you.
Yeah. And also, I just want to point out, 300 rushing yards in the game. Crazy. I think they did fantastic this year. And I just going back to speaking to that O-line that you were talking about. But just talking about Jamal Shakespeare again, he basically showed up when he had to throughout this game. I want to say that. So he was pretty much a key factor for the win against Novi. Who do you think possibly or would be or should be the key factor player in a win going against Catholic Central?
Well, I think going up against an offense as high-powered as Catholic Central's, I think it's going to be a high-scoring game. So I'm expecting a big game from Elijah Durham. We've seen him, throughout the years have big games in these moments, and the announcers themselves in the game mentioning he's very prone to having 2 touchdowns in big games. I wouldn't be surprised if he racks up multiple scores this week.
And that's what we need, too. We definitely need that. Hopefully, he can hear this and hear the call and step up to the plate. Big players show up and pick big games, by the way. Last but not least, just any additional notes that you've seen from West Bloomfield Lakers throughout the season or throughout the first playoff game of the season so far, Matt?
Well, I just think they are playing their best football right now. And we mentioned earlier in the year, it doesn't necessarily matter what your record is, if it's pretty or not. You just got to get into the playoffs and go from there and kind of have that March Madness mindset. And right now, I think they're there. And it's just incredible to see how they're playing their best football at the most important time of the year.
I 100% agree. This is when it matters. Forget the rest of the regular season and those losses. This is when it matters and we show up. Hey, I want to thank you again for showing up and giving us a little bit of your time. West Bloomfield football color commentator for Civic Center TV and 89.3 Lakes FM, Matt Catoni. Thank you again, sir.
Yep, thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So we're going to continuously cheer on our Lakers and support them and let you know exactly what's going on. You can keep up with all game information right here with Civic Center TV. You go to civiccentertv.com and check out This Week in Lakers Football and so much more. civiccentertv.com/Lakers Sports for more information on what our Lakers have going on this season. Greater West Bloomfield honor its men and women of service in advance of their special holiday at the annual Heroes Appreciation Breakfast. Our special reporter Tyler Keefe actually has a story.
This time of year, you often hear people go up to veterans and thank them for their service. Here in Greater West Bloomfield, they take that to a little bit of a further degree, not just telling these veterans thank you, but showing them at the annual Heroes Appreciation Breakfast. For many veterans like Sigmund Glazer and Chuck Greer, the Heroes Appreciation Breakfast was a stark but welcome contrast to their original welcome home, one much friendlier than they ever could have wished for.
Every time I hear welcome home and such an event like this, I feel very emotional. The Vietnam vets, as was indicated in other speeches, we did get a raw deal coming back to the States. We were not welcome back.
When the crowd showed up in San Francisco, I thought they were going to wave us and say thank you, and they didn't. And to come to a celebration where people finally appreciate, the service and the sacrifice, we take care of our community, and we do thank West Bloomfield.
The celebration for these volunteers of immense service was led by volunteers, something West Bloomfield School Board member Deborah Evans hopes serves as an important message to students and the community.
Well, I think that it's always important to celebrate our veterans, our heroes, who keep us safe, who keep our country safe, who have served. We want to instill upon our students that it is honorable to serve our country and to understand that service is two ways, meaning a lot of times when you serve, that you find again that your service heart grows as you protect your country, your family, and yourself.
The love and care for local veterans did not go unnoticed, both by those who have served our nation as well as those whose families have given their service to our country as well.
I enjoyed the service. I learned a lot, and it's always been with me. And I thoroughly enjoyed what happened here today. Definitely appreciated and makes me want to become more active in my community to assist in whatever the community action is.
My brother and my father both served in many wars. They leave families behind. So I want to say to all the military families and all the veterans, we want to extend our love, we want to extend our communal presence, and we want to always extend our hearts to all of our heroes.
Brings it right to our hearts because we always knew we were doing the right thing. We're serving our country, but so this is a very important event and we really appreciate it. This is really very, very outstanding. The whole service, the people that sang, announced each other, the colonels and everything else was absolutely great, and we're so thankful, all of us. I speak for all the veterans, especially the Vietnam vets.
The full presentation of this year's Heroes Appreciation Breakfast is now available live on demand on civiccentertv.com. Go ahead, tune in, and make sure you thank a veteran for their service this Veterans Day. At West Bloomfield Middle School, I'm Tyler Keefe, Civic Center TV.
Thank you for that story, Tyler. It was a beautiful occasion to commemorate the dedication of America's finest, by the way, during an event that was led by our friends over at West Bloomfield Parks, who has led the charge on this very special occasion for the past 7 years. So joining us now for more stories on our community salute to service is Executive Director for West Bloomfield Parks, Kelly Hyatt. Thank you for being here, Kelly.
Good morning.
Thank you. So we had a beautiful event, just looking at some of that footage from Civic Center TV on the screen. From your perspective, how does the Heroes Appreciation Breakfast, or what does it mean to you and the West Bloomfield Parks team for first and foremost?
I'd say that I can speak on everyone on our team that it is our favorite event. It's a way for us to show our gratitude and love for our freedom. And it's an act of love that you see us putting this community event together. And it is not done just by us. We have several community partners that make it happen. And just by the display of everyone's comments and the clips that you just showed, there is a lot of gratitude and appreciation shown. But it is, for us as community leaders, it's the opposite. We want to make sure that they feel honored and appreciated, our veterans, and I think we accomplished that.
I think so too. Especially hearing it from the veterans themselves, talking about how grateful they are for this, and talk about how they were received when they did come back from war. That brought a lot of perspective for me also, not knowing that. But I want to go back to when you talked about some of the partners. Can you just tell us about the collaboration with local organizations, partners, and schools, and how that partnership enhanced the impact of this event?
Yes, let's start by some of our lead staff that put this event together. Megan Tahako served as a chair of this event, but we couldn't do it without the library, the township, the police department, the fire department, and the school district. We also rely on our community groups, such as the Greater West Bloomfield Historical Society, who brought a really great display of artifacts, and of course our sponsors. So this event, we make free to our veterans, and they can also they could bring a free guest. And that takes a lot of fundraising to do so, to afford everything that they experience. And we do so with our many sponsors. So you had seen in some of the footage that we had a lot of our sponsors there that day showing their gratitude and appreciation, as well as sharing their business or organization's information.
And I love that too, that you all go above and beyond to make sure that they're comfortable, they're accommodated, and things of that nature. And I want to talk about that a little bit more. But with us right here live on The Splash, Executive Director for West Bloomfield Parks, Kelly Hyatt, just giving us a recap of the Heroes Appreciation Breakfast that happened over the weekend. Can you just speak to the planning and the approach that West Bloomfield takes to the planning process to ensure that not only are the veterans, but their families feel honored and appreciated during this event?
Sure. This is our 7th year hosting this event, so we've learned a lot of things along the way. And we've had veterans serve on this committee, as well as the relatives of veterans, to get some insight on what they would like to see. And I think you have seen the evolution of this event, especially Civic Center TV. You guys have been there from day one. When we first hosted at Orchard Mall, you've seen the caliber of the event. We've kept it really special, making sure that we bring in an engaging speaker each year, and maybe even some veteran resources. Every year has looked a little different. So making sure that we're bringing to them something that they want to see. And of course, who doesn't love a great breakfast? So we have settled on delivering a community breakfast each year, as well as involving our community leaders as doing the actual service. So we want the veterans to feel pampered and appreciated, and that's our way of showing that.
I don't know too many people who doesn't like a good pancake, sausage, or some type of breakfast to start the day off, especially with good people. And then feeling appreciated for what you've done, how you contributed to our country, our society, our community. I could only imagine how that felt for the veteran. I'm so glad that you all had an opportunity to do that and that the community actually came out to support that also. Can you just talk about how you all selected the guest speaker for this event? Colonel Anthony Dennis, if I'm saying that correct. Can you just talk about how you all went about selecting Colonel Anthony Dennis and what unique perspective he brought to the event?
So over the years, we've selected various amounts of or various speakers, but all military related. And for us this year, we had some connections within our office to reach out, and we were given a couple names to pick from, and that is how we reached that decision. Over the years, though, we were this can be my plea to the community. If you are connected to somebody of military service, whether or not actively serving or retired, we would love to hear from you. Because again, we want to bring somebody before the vet that they want to hear from. And I have seen the reactions over the years of seeing a variety of different community leaders and very highly regarded officials that have been before this group. And we still want to continue to deliver that caliber to our veterans. So this can be my setup for next year. If there's anybody in the West Bloomfield community that would love to serve, please reach out. We would graciously open our planning meetings or open our planning meetings, as well as we're open to suggestions. So please reach out either through Civic Center TV or directly to West Bloomfield Parks.
Absolutely, absolutely. Love that opportunity to pitch that. If anybody is listening or watching, this is the opportunity to connect right here at WB Parks, Kelly Hire, as she is looking for people for the future events also. I want to speak about, that just made me think of something else. If a local business owner wants to kind of be a part of this event for the future, what all do you look for in sponsor partnerships for the future?
Oh, that's a great question. So we take those financial donations. So if there's a sponsor that would like to give monetarily for this event, you can reach out and find our sponsorship guide online. But also, and you might have caught this in some clip, each veteran gets a goodie bag filled with things that are donated from the community, free services, free food, just coupons to use, whether or not it's for Veterans Day specific or throughout the year. And so we have reached out to communities for several years in a row now. And then there is some things in the goodie bag that the veterans receive every year, such as the highly regarded calendar from English Gardens, just one example. And what we can, it's 150 donations, and we take those in the month of September and October for the goodie bag. So again, if anybody's listening, there is a variety of ways to get involved. You can serve on the committee, you can make a monetary donation or a goodie bag contribution.
Yay. Any and everything helps essentially, and we're glad that, our sponsors did come together to provide those types of goodies for our veterans and attendees there. Hey, we appreciate you so much again, Kelly. Last but not least, how do you all, WB Parks, plan to continue to honor and support veterans and their families in the future, both through this event and through other events and initiatives?
Also a great question. So we, over the years, have done different veteran support groups, veteran meetup. Right now, the one thing that we have ongoing is a veteran support group that meets on Wednesdays at 2 p.m. And that is at a local, not at Connect, it is at a local office. If you call up to register, it is free. It is funded by one of our many grant-funded programs by the ACL. And call up and register, and you can get into this week, actually. So Wednesdays at 2 o'clock.
Perfect. Thank you again for those resources and for everything you and your team does over there at WB Parks. Once again, Executive Director for West Bloomfield Parks, Kelly Hire, with the recap of the Heroes Appreciation Breakfast. We appreciate you.
Well, we appreciate you right back, and I can't wait to see all the clips and coverage. Looking forward to it.
Absolutely. Teamwork right there. We appreciate all the work being done from local organizations and business owners right here in West Bloomfield. We have so much more to talk about that is affecting you right here in the greater West Bloomfield area, and we'll get straight to it. We are live, local, social. It's The Splash Live on Civic Center TV and 89.3 Lakes FM.
We'll be right back with The Splash Live. bringing you stories and memories from Orchard Lake. Civic Center TV, television that's close to home.
Hi, I'm Lauren Azuri, the Park Naturalist Supervisor for West Bloomfield Parks. Congratulations to you, Civic Center TV, for hitting 1 million views on YouTube. We really appreciate your partnership in spreading nature education in a creative way in our community. I'm Lauren Azuri, proud to be 1 in a million.
This is Civic Center TV and 89.3 Lakes FM. On cable and the radio. On the web too, and on social media. Civic Center TV, television that's close to home. And now, back to the Splash, live.
Live, local, social, it's the Splash Live on Civic Center TV and 89.3 Lakes FM. Thank you so much for being here. I am your host, Kevin McIntosh. Now, a West Bloomfield resident started a podcast called Classic Conversations during the COVID pandemic to indulge in his love for pop culture, TV, movies, and nostalgia all together. And despite his podcast being a side project initially, it's gained significant popularity and placing it in the top 1.5% of all listened to podcasts. We got to explain this. We got to talk to him. As a matter of fact, joining me right here live on The Splash is the host of Classic Conversations. We have Jeff Dwoskin joining us. Thank you so much for being here, Jeff.
Hey, how are you? Great to be here.
Doing just fine. I see it looks like you have a nice setup. Is this your podcast setup that we're looking at right now?
It is. It is my
Love
podcast
that.
setup. Yeah.
Love that.
Thank
So
you.
if you're watching on civiccentertv.com, you can see his lovely setup right there. But let's get straight into it. What inspired you to dive into the wonderful world of podcasting during the pandemic?
I always wanted to do podcasting. I originally was really into social media. Well, I still am. And I was going to start a social media-based podcast in 2017 called Viral Intentions. And I kind of just sat on it for a long time. I was really into Twitter at the time and, just Viral Intentions, kind of like Cruel Intentions, the movie. I thought it was, a good play on words. And I just sat on it. And then come March 2020, the pandemic hits and we all are home with some extra time in our hands. And I'm like, oh, I have time finally to do my podcast and realize I can't start a podcast called Viral Intentions in the middle of a pandemic. And so
Go on.
I mean, that's not even a joke. It is literally what happened. And I had everything. And so I had to change it. It was originally called The Jeff Dwoskin Show and involved the Classic Conversations as I kind of understood what I was, where I was going with this. And so, but it was always interviews and talking to famous people. I've always loved going to Comic-Cons, the Motor City Comic-Con every year, meeting the celebrities. You can see the 8x10s on my wall if you're watching. And, that's what I did. I loved it. So when I'm like, wait, they'll talk to me?
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, I can do this. I can do this.
You never know who will respond to you if you just reach out on social media, be like, hey, I'm starting a podcast or I'm doing a pod, I would love to have you. And then next thing you know, hey, I'm down, I'll do it. Nowadays we can just do it from Zoom or do it remotely. It makes things so much easier. Everyone can be a professional interviewer, podcaster, but it makes a difference when you're consistent and you're growing and doing the things like you're doing to become in the top 1.5% of all listened to podcasts. I want to get into your lineup of guests, right? It reads like a tribute to classic television. What draws you to these particular stars and shows?
It's a lot of it's people that I grew up watching and, people from the Brady Bunch, Cousin Oliver and, Peter and Cindy and the Love Boat, Isaac, Gopher and Doc, Happy Days, Ralph Malv and Potsy and Mrs. Cunningham. So these are people I grew up watching. And so to be able to spend time with them and just talk to them about their careers and how they got to where they got to, it's just fascinating. And it's sort of a little dream come true. So it's, once they started saying yes, I'm like, oh, wow. Okay. All right, we got something here. So, yeah.
No, you definitely, what I want to highlight is the fact that you definitely tapped into a market. For you to find that lane and then consistently do what you do to put out that content and then grow into the position that you're in, that says a lot. You're in the top 1.5% of listened to podcasts, a remarkable feat. What do you think resonated so strongly with your audience for you to grow to where you are now?
I think if you're in the right demographic and you see these folks, you want to hear them. And I focus the conversations on conversations that I'd want to hear. They're literally conversations. Like I try to make it sound like I've known these folks and we're talking, we've known each other forever.
Right.
Even though that's not the case. And, I put a lot of time into those conversations. And I think the end result of my conversations with these folks, even if they talk to other folks, I usually get something unique in the collaboration. And this particular interview is special.
Yeah. That's kind of my approach too when I think about it, Jeff. I like to talk to strangers like I knew them, like we just got done talking like 5 minutes ago. Let's just pick up from right here. And I've never met you a day in my life. I think that builds organic chemistry between people sometimes. You'd be surprised how that goes. But with us right here live on The Splash, host of the Classic Conversations podcast, Jeff Dwoskin, talking about his success and consistency of creating a podcast in a very saturated market, by the way. With that being said, I know you have a background in comedy. We've already kind of went over that. And also digital media. Just talk about how these two skills/tools have also helped your podcast and platform stand out.
Absolutely. Well, I think being a stand-up comic for 20 years helps me kind of engage and chat and removes a little bit of the fear of talking to somebody. And I can kind of tap into places maybe that other people might not or might not feel comfortable, but I can do it in a way just because I'm used to kind of engaging with people in that particular way and kind of, connecting on that level.
Right.
Digital marketing, it just helps that, I just kind of understand the landscape. I think you have to be really good at social these days to kind of get the word out and promote yourself. It's a lot of self-promotion.
Yeah, and you have to use those tools. That alone can kind of show you or kind of help you stand out. That can make you show up in algorithms. I'll say mastering the digital media side, the SEO side. But how can you keep their attention? You can capture their attention by popping up in the algorithms, but can you keep their attention? Can you keep them engaged? Can you keep them wanting to know what you're doing next in that type of sense? So with that being said, how do you kind of line up or come to the idea of what you're going to feature in the next episode, who you're going to interview and things of that nature?
Well, a lot of it sometimes is, you reach out to 10 people. Sometimes 5 say yes, and sometimes 1 says yes, and sometimes none say yes. So, you go to the next group. My focus is always, which is what I tell anyone, it's like, you can't beat the algorithms. They're going to change underneath you. Just focus on doing good content and good things. And, everything kind of works out in the end. So that's my focus, is just sort of, doing what I want to do. I do record ahead of, a lot ahead of time. Like I'm not recording today and it releases next Monday type of thing.
Okay.
One thing that's different from my podcast than others, a lot of times they're talking about books, but those books are about their life. So it works perfect for the format that I have. But I'm not like a promotion thing. I'm not like, oh, hey, all right, well, your new show is on Amazon tomorrow and blah, blah. It's not like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And so I'm able to then, because I have such a backlog of interviews recorded, I can kind of pace it out and famous person, person you haven't heard of, but is just as interesting. A lot of the interviews that I do that people may not even understand who they are because they weren't Penny on Lost in Space, or they weren't, Cagney from Cagney and Lazy. They were Joe Alves, the guy that created the shark in Jaws and made all that visual work. And every visual element, if you're familiar with the movie Close Encounters of the Third Time that you can think of, this guy, Joe Alves, is responsible for. And so like that interview in itself is amazing it's one of those kind of gems. And there's a lot of those type of gems where you're like, I don't know who this person is, but it's likely their stories are very robust, very amazing, and they're kind of the behind the scenes of the things that you do know about.
I love that perspective. Every now and then you'll stumble across an interview on YouTube. It'll be somebody, yeah, I was the executive or assistant production manager or director of such and such movie, but then they have so many stories or different angles or never before heard of stories. You're like, wow, I never knew that. So I love that you're bringing that to that, because those are gems, like you said, those hidden stories that you're bringing to the world and to the digital media in general. So keep doing that good work right there. I love that. I'm an advocate for it. Real quick, any guests, dream guest that you want to have that you have not yet had?
I would love to have Henry Winkler on my show. That's sort of like my dream guest.
Yeah.
Seth MacFarlane, Steven Spielberg, those would all be great.
Okay. Names I'm familiar with. I like that. Yeah. Hey, good luck. We hopefully you'll get those. Last question. You mentioned bringing a bit of Michigan into your episodes whenever you can. Can you just talk about the role that Michigan or your Michigan background plays in shaping the podcast, if it does at all?
Yeah, a lot of times when I'm reading someone's memoir or something, like Dean Butler, he was Almanzo on Little House on the Prairie. So he was the one that married Melissa Gilbert's character. You need to paint it a little more on that. So I'm reading his thing, and it's just, he starts talking about Frankenmuth, Michigan in his memoir. And so we ended up having a conversation about that, because I like to dive into that, because it's like no one else is really going to ask him about that. Right. So we ended up talking about Bronner's, because he was a huge Christmas fan. So we ended up talking about Bronner's, that Christmas Wonderland. And then, I introduced him, but for some reason he hadn't had the fried chicken. So it was like he didn't go to either. I'm like, which one did you go to? And he's like, yeah, I didn't. I'm like, what? He's like, but he was really into the fudge. So it's like, it was like, if you can bring that. And a lot of times they come through Michigan a lot. You know what I mean? Like that, it's been a part of their journey as well, just because Michigan is such a hot spot for entertainment or performing. So it's likely that at some point they've been here.
Yes. Hey, Jeff, thank you so much for bringing some perspectives to us and your podcast. Once again, just tell people how they can watch and or listen to your podcast on any platform, please.
Yeah, I mean, if you're a podcast listener, you can go to anyone, type in Classic Conversations. If you also add in my name, Jeff Dwoskin, it probably comes up a little easier. Classic, jeffisfunny.com is my website. You can hit that up. That's the easiest thing to remember, probably. And then you can link to any podcast from there, any player from there as well. So, yeah.
Oh, man. Thank you so much again, man. I'm pretty sure a lot of people who aspire to do podcasts can get a lot of gems out of this information, out of this interview. Once again, host of Classic Conversations podcast, Jeff Dwoskin. We appreciate your time.
Thank you so much for having me. It was great.
Absolutely. Right here from greater West Bloomfield area, specifically West Bloomfield, with 1.5% in the top listened to podcast. Gotta highlight that success right here locally. We love that. Speaking to another segment or another situation right here locally, as winter is quickly approaching, that means residents everywhere are going to be working to keep themselves warm within them homes. But that could also pose some new dangers and warnings that could cause house fires or even other damages. Here to give us some tips on how to keep warm safely this season, we have West Bloomfield Fire Captain Tim Tarot.
Thanks for having me.
Yes, we appreciate that. So kind of just going straight into it, can you just explain some of the biggest hazards that can come along with just heating up our home in the various ways during the winter and colder months?
Well, one of the big ones we already had it recently happen. When you fire up the furnace for the first time of the year, quite often dust settles on the heating coil. And when that furnace first kicks on, that dust burns up and you get a smell of burning in your home. So be aware that the first couple times you fire up the furnace, you might have that smell that is easy to mistake for a problem. And it's quite normal. Just keep an eye on it. It should dissipate shortly after having it on. So that's probably the biggest one as far as the furnace goes. Yeah. Also, it's a good idea to have a licensed contractor come out and do a cleaning on your furnace before that season comes, just to give it a once over and check everything's working. There's no cracks in the flue and whatnot. That's the biggest one for furnace wise. There's a few other, open flames, candles, this time of year with, if you have your menorah going, it's great to have, they have LED candle versions of those now. And for Christmas trees too, when you have those going, make sure you have them watered and use LED lights because they cause less heat, all that kind of stuff.
You brought up a good point with the candles. Didn't think about that. Yes, lighting the home with candles. A lot of people like to have seasonal candles during this time, so I can see that also. But having a contractor come out and look at your furnace, that's a new one. I haven't necessarily thought of that, but I'm glad we have that information from someone who's seen it all in many different situations. So we spoke on the furnace. I mean, there's many different ways that people can heat their homes in many different places. What are some of the biggest places in the home that can become hazards from your experience?
A big one is if you have space heaters, not have combustibles around the space heaters. And they should have, a lot of the new ones have a feature where if you kick it or knock it over, when it becomes no longer upright, there's quite often a switch at the bottom that will kick, that'll turn the unit off. If you have an older one that doesn't have that, I recommend upgrading to one of the newer ones that I believe they're standard on all of them now, that if they get jostled, they get turned off, because we've had fires before start where somebody knocks it over into a pile of rags or some papers, because quite often people have them under their desk, and if they have a home office or even at a place of business, and they'll kick it into a waste paper basket, and it causes a small fire under there, which can lead to bigger issues.
Yeah, exactly. It's just a few different things to be aware of that we're highlighting right now. And with us right here live on The Splash, West Bloomfield Fire Department Fire Captain Tim Tarak, just talking about safety in the homes as we prepare for those colder and winter months right here in the greater West Bloomfield area. So we know that people are also cooking a lot more during these times, especially as we approach Thanksgiving and other holidays. You just talk about fire safety and situations that are situated around cooking and the stove and things of that nature.
Sure. So everyone thinks fire, put water on it, right? I think in recent years it's gotten out pretty well that for a cooking fire, especially a grease fire, water is the biggest thing you don't want to do, because when water hits superheated grease, the whole thing blows up into a giant fireball. And you can go online and see dramatic videos of it at our open houses, which we just had last month, or earlier in the month for Fire Prevention Week. We used to do a demonstration where we show putting water on superheated grease on a stove outside. We had a stove wired up that was able to show that, and just a massive fireball. So never put water on a cooking fire. The best way, the easiest one that you have right there with you in the kitchen probably, is a cover for that pot. So the key is smother the fires. Don't put water on them. So you have a grease fire, if you're making your gravy for your turkey and you're heating up that grease and it flares up, cover that pot. There are also some commercially available things. One's called the Prepare to Hero. I've seen lots of videos online about that. For your grill or your kitchen, it's a fire blanket that smothers the flame. So the key, I've heard of those. Fires, take away the oxygen, which extinguishes the fire. Instead, don't put water on it, because that is a giant mess.
Seems like a great investment for the households all around, especially with that being said. Keeping that right next or near the stove or in the kitchen area for those types of situations. Thank you for highlighting that, because
they come in a small package and you can get them on Amazon. That's the brand I've heard of is called Prepared Hero, and they're a very nice product.
There we go. Coming from the professional himself. We love to hear that. I want to pick your brain about something else that we don't necessarily talk about. We highlight smoke detectors all the time. Make sure you update them at least every 10 years. Batteries, make sure they're working, test them out. What about carbon monoxide and carbon monoxide detectors? Are they a danger around this time? And can you just talk about how we could actually prepare for those also?
Yeah, carbon monoxide isn't so much a seasonal thing, but it's an all-the-time thing. Some levels of carbon monoxide, the levels we go by, it's measured in parts per million, which is a measurement of a lot of common components of the air are measured in parts per million. So carbon monoxide is one that we're around it all the time. We can be exposed to small amounts. Up to 9 parts per million is considered safe and normal. So I just actually got 2 new CO detectors for my home, CO being carbon monoxide, from Amazon because mine were 10 years old and at their end of life. So one thing is to watch that end of life, and on the back of every detector, whether it be smoke or carbon monoxide, in the very small print, if you read that small print, it'll say, dispose of 7 years out from first going in service, or 10 years out. Some are 10, some are 7, or some variation thereof. But so watch those expiration dates. And also, I recommend having a carbon monoxide detector that has a reading on it that gives you a parts per million. Now, it may not be 100% accurate, but at least it's a number to go by.
Right.
And then you can see it. It can beep. They'll all alert you audibly. And if they give you a reading too, you can kind of know what amount it's picking up. Certainly call us. We'll come check it out and see if there's a bigger issue. Another thing to think about with CO detectors, if I have another minute, is for generators, right? For this time of year or any time of year when it's stormy and windy. If we lose power, generators are great. I have one at my home. Everyone knows to have them outside, certainly, because you've got to watch for that. The exhaust puts out carbon monoxide. So I had a call, a couple years ago, where a gentleman did everything right. He had it outside of his home running in a storm, and he had a lot of CO in his house, and his alarms were going off. Thankfully, he had alarms, and they called us, and I said, hey, this is weird. It's outside. And then I noticed a basement window near where he had the generator going, and the basement window was cracked with letting in some air. He didn't think of it, and that was just happened to be near the exhaust. So when you place those those generators, look for open basement windows. Look for any points where air can get in the house, because if it can get in, it will, and it is a danger.
Ooh, that was a great thank you for providing that story and that example, because that's one of those small things, like you said, you may not pay attention to, but yeah, it could lead up to danger. So generators as well, something that could be a danger to the home, but make sure you're taking your extra precautions there. With us right here live on The Splash, talking about safety in and around the home as we prepare for those winter and cold months, from the West Bloomfield Fire Department, Fire Captain Tim Torak. Just a couple more questions real quick, Captain. If you don't have, if you have the time, first and foremost, just very briefly, are there any other things in or around the home that could be flammable that people may not even know about?
Boy, well, over the years, everything we have is more flammable than it used to be. The blanket that you have at night just to be comfortable and snuggle up on your couch is made of polyester and flammable materials, so everything heats up faster than it used to. The couch is burned now. We call it legacy construction. In this business, we call it legacy construction versus modern construction. So the average home, there are videos online, and you can see those too, but there are videos online that show a cigarette dropped into a couch in 1972 takes 5 minutes to get a full living room going in full flame. And that same cigarette dropped into today's couch with today's furnishings and today's draperies and today's carpet can get that entire room in a raging inferno in 2 minutes.
Ooh.
So it's really crazy how just the components of your house are much more flammable than they used to be, because things are cheaper and more readily produced. If they're not cotton, now they're all synthetics. So just keep any heating source that you have, keep those combustibles, give them a distance, let everything breathe, let things air out. If you smell a weird smell, air things out. And if you need to call us, and we're happy to come check things out.
We appreciate that. Lastly, last question before we let you go. Just a couple quick things that we can do to prepare now for family emergencies.
It's great to have a plan. We stress whenever we have families come through or students come through on a tour, hey, go home and, tell your parents, check those detectors twice a year. When you change your clocks, change your batteries, or at least check your batteries. In recent years, detectors smoke detectors and CO detectors are going with lithium batteries that have a 10-year life. So you're not really changing batteries so much, but it's certainly a good idea to keep an eye on those and check those dates. When were they purchased? When did they go in service? And are we at those expiration end of life dates?
Yeah.
And also, God forbid you have an issue in the home, let's plan where we're going to be so that if you have a fire or a fire alarm and little Timmy runs to the backyard and Johnny goes to the street, and the parents go to the street, we're not looking, hey, we're missing one. So make sure all the kids, hey family, if we're going to have an issue, let's all meet in this place so we know we're all here. And you know, and then when we get there, we know quite often the front of the house is a great spot. So then we get, the first thing we say, hey, is everybody out of the house? And then, you know, we can have a quick answer to that very important question.
Hey, we appreciate all the information that you provided today, and we appreciate your time. Once again, from West Bloomfield Fire Department, Fire Captain Tim Tarak, thank you so much for your time and information, sir.
Thanks for having me.
Yes.
Take care.
Once again, a lot of things to keep note of. In case you didn't have an opportunity to take note on some of those great things he discussed, you can visit our website so you can watch that entire interview again. CivicCenterTV.com. Click on the On Demand tab to find out everything that Fire Captain West Bloomfield Fire Department Tim Tarak had to say. Now, if you are looking to make a difference in our community, just like someone at the fire department, you can join the West Bloomfield Police as a PSA. The West Bloomfield Police Department is now hiring for police service aides, also known as PSAs. It's a great opportunity for anyone looking to start a career in law enforcement and also make a positive impact on the community, right? As a PSA, you'll work part-time in uniform, handling essential duties like front desk service, writing reports, and monitoring prisoners. Starting pay is just over $22 an hour with an increase after just 6 months. You can't beat that, right? Applicants must be 18 years or older and available for various shifts. If you are motivated and community focused, make sure you apply by November 6th. That's Wednesday, November 6th. Go to their Facebook page to engage at West Bloomfield PD, or visit the website wbtownship.org/jobs for more details and to start your application. Since Election Day is tomorrow, we just want to let you know again, there are free bus rides for Election Day voters. SMART is making it easier for voters to get to the polls tomorrow, November 5th, Election Day, by offering free rides across Oakland, Macomb, and Wayne counties. All SMART transit services, including fixed route buses, connector services, ADA paratransit, and Smart Flex, will be free from midnight to 11:59 on November 5th. This is the second time, by the way, SMART has provided free rides on Election Day, showing their commitment to removing barriers for all voters. For those who cannot make it on Election Day, you did have an opportunity to vote early. That was until Sunday, November 3rd, but now you actually have to either go in person or submit your absentee ballot until 8 p.m. on Election Day. Take advantage of this service and make your vote count. For Smart Bus routes, schedules, or more information, visit smartbus.org for more information. And this is just another reminder that the main library, West Bloomfield Township Main Library, will be closed on Tuesday, November 5th for Election Day. However, the West Acres branch will remain open for regular hours. Now, if you didn't know, the main library was open for early voting. That was an early voting location. Had a lot of people turn out, as a matter of fact, but now they're going to take a break actually on Election Day, Tuesday, November 5th. So if you are visiting the main library, plan for some adjustments and just head over to the West Acres branch instead. For more, go to their Facebook at WB or West Bloom LIB for more on their Facebook. We want to thank you again for being here and for keeping up with everything that affects the greater West Bloomfield area. I am your host, Kevin McIntosh. We are live, local, social. It's The Splash Live on Civic Center TV and 89.3 Lakes FM.